Questions on the minutes?
I think you need to do public comments, not on the agenda first.
Oh, that's true. We are missing, we have all but John Bear. Okay, this is the time for a public comment not on the agenda. Anyone have anything that's not on the agenda? Aha. Is that you, Jim?
Yes, sir.
Public comment on the agenda. Speak up. I figured.
I'm Jim Wing. I live on Milverton Road. I'm here tonight to ask for a future agenda item for you to make a recommendation on priority of a CIP that would improve the traffic circulation at First and Main by removing a traffic hazard. The handout I gave you shows the northwest corner of First and Main. And you can see in one of the pictures there, that's the blackest curb in Los Altos. Also, the second page, and it's kind of hard, maybe hard to see, but you can see where there is many tire marks way up on the curb where the pedestrian stands. Now, this is a very important intersection and right turn for Los Altos, in particular for Safeway. If you remember when you reviewed Safeway, they added a special right turn lane at their State Street exit. That's their prime exit. And they're counting on cars be able to turn right onto First, go southbound, then turn right at this corner to Foothill and go both ways there. So it really is key to their success that cars can maneuver this corner. Now keep in mind that this corner is the lane you're turning from 11-foot wide lane into a 10-foot wide lane. And what happens in reality is, one, cars hop the curb. The curb, you can see, is damaged already from rims that have drug it and popped. Pedestrians have to stand back a long ways, or else cars come right at them. Also, when cars make this turn and they hop the curb, many of them are so shocked they stop and they block traffic. But most traffic circulation problem is that the cars swing wide and they go into both lanes on First Street, and when there's backups on left turn on Foothill, then they block and they really lock up the whole intersection. Now, all of the other streetscape turn radiuses are 16 feet or more. This one you're looking at is 13 feet, and it really just does not work. It's something that is probably pretty basic to correct, and in fact, the window of opportunity to act on this is now, because James Walgren and staff in February will be reviewing priorities for CIP for the next fiscal year. The Morris building are planning on constructing the streetscape at this corner, and that's basically in the September 2014 timeframe. So the time is now, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Jim. Any questions from Jim? Okay. Thanks, Jim. Okay, now we can talk about the minutes. There isn't any. Close public comments. I'll get it one of these days. Okay. Have we all reviewed the minutes? Any questions or changes?
I move that we approve the minutes of October 3rd as per the draft.
I second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we've just approved the minutes.
Renee, you're gonna
I wasn't there. I'm allowed to approve them, or I should
You abstain.
abstain?
We have one abstain. Okay, we are going to be discussing 86 3rd Street, 12D12 and 12SD.
No.
Are you looking at the
Am I looking at
draft?
the wrong
Look
one?
at the draft.
Yeah.
Don't look at the draft. Here, use this one.
Aha, 151 First Street, you're right. Sorry, thank you. 12 UP02, M. Hufferman, use permit amendment for the recreational video game arcade.
Yes, good evening, Chair, members of the Commission. The item before you, the amendment to the use permit at 151 has been withdrawn by the applicant, as outlined in the email in front of you tonight, so that item is no longer up for discussion. There is, as part of this, as you recall from the original use permit, there was a 12-month check-in condition included by the Commission, and so this is before you as well, and no action is required as part of this unless the Commission wishes to amend any of the operational conditions. But as outlined in the staff report, we have not received any complaints with regard to the operation of the video game arcade, and staff is available for questions if you have anything further to ask.
Why did the applicant withdraw?
The applicant is here tonight. They can probably elaborate on that further.
Do we
I'm
need
just
to?
curious, personally.
Actually, I wanted to know, we have a letter about a spin class creating noise, which is not going on at 151?
Yes, that letter came in this evening. I don't know the specific address which they were referring to here. This particular citizen is living in the villas there, so there are other uses that are on opposite side of the plaza along State Street, so it could be from one of those spaces.
Thank you.
So just so I'm clear, there's the use permit, which we said we'd like to review in a year,
Yes.
but we could see it today? Or you're saying because they've withdrawn, we shouldn't?
The amendment portion, as part of this, there was two aspects. The original arcade opened in October of last year, and as a condition of approval, the Commission wanted to see the use permit come back 12 months' time, which is, this is a little bit more than a year since they've been in operation, and really it was to check in to see if there was any compatibility issues, primarily with the residential uses behind. And as outlined in the first section of the staff report, staff has not received any complaints. I did check in with code enforcement and with the police department dispatch, and neither had received any calls. And so we haven't received any issues with regard to the operation of the video game arcade. The second part was originally, as outlined in the staff report, the applicant had requested an amendment to the use permit to add an additional element in the rear parking lot. However, prior to the meeting, they did request that this amendment be withdrawn.
So the action for the commission tonight is to accept the status report, the one-year status report, or direct staff otherwise, and that's really the only action tonight.
But it hasn't been a year, right?
Yeah,
It has
it's a year.
been
It's been a year.
been a
I know
year. A year
time
ago,
flies
October.
when you're having a good time.
I know time flies.
I'm not on the commission now, I guess. Okay. Never
Time
mind.
flies. Okay, well, any discussion?
No.
No.
This could be the
I-
world's quickest. Discussion?
Well,
The
I have a-
discussion would be along, do we want to accept? or
Yeah, well, I have a
reject
comment
staff?
because I visited the parking area, and I noticed that it was completely full, even though the arcade was closed. And then when the arcade was open, the same cars were still parked there, which would suggest that it's being used for parking other than the arcade, which isn't my issue,
Right.
nor is it, I don't think, the city's issue.
That's a good question for the property owners. It is a private parking lot.
And I don't know if you, it looks like it's for employee parking for other residents, or for other businesses. I'm just guessing by the conditions of the cars. But I don't think that's part of the use permit.
No.
Nope.
No,
So I
it's
don't-
not.
I would move to renew the use permit.
Accept staff's recommendations.
So a renewal isn't required, because really the condition added to the original use permit wasn't for a one-year renewal so much as a check-in. So unless the commission wished to modify any of the existing conditions, an action wouldn't.
It's not even a, Okay.
So basically, we're just approving what the staff is recommending.
Accepting
We're
the
not
status
even doing
report.
that.
We are
the staff's
accepting-
recommendation.
Yeah, the commission
We're
is
just,
accepting
we're
the status.
just approving your recommendations, right?
Yes, just
Do
accepting.
you need a
yeah.
motion for that?
Oh, you don't, but we're already this far into it, you might as well make a motion to accept, to accept the staff report,
Exactly.
and we'll have a record of that, and then we
So
can...
you'll accept the staff report.
I'll move to accept the staff report.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Any opposed?
Any abstained?
Okay, well,
Motion carries.
All right.
that was,
And if
A
you
record.
have questions of the applicant regarding the
I'm
use
just, I'm
permit
I'm only
amendment,
curious to know.
I would have liked to see this use amendment come before us, because I think that this would have been a good use of the space. I would have liked to see more open green space. I love the idea of a winter wonderland.
Well, if
And
we're going to have a
same here,
discussion
but
anyway, I mean,
We can have the discussion.
we're having a
It's just
big
that
problem with parking downtown because
Yeah.
of the construction.
The-
It's really bad.
they have a very
And
good-
we need a garage in town.
Yeah.
so
soon.
regarding the use permit amendment, it is still on the agenda. The applicants have withdrawn it, but they could change that decision. So we can talk to the applicant about the use permit because it is on the agenda. Staff's position, part of what drove this was, we told the applicants early on that staff wouldn't be able to support the amendment because, not that we thought that the activity was necessarily a poor use of the property, but we were given specific direction when the use permit was approved by the commission that there should be no activity in the parking lot. So we were just respecting that direction.
And also, I think before we call the applicant up and see if they want to remove it or not, is it okay if we have a discussion up here? Would that be fine?
Well, because my concern with the permit was that with Safeway being under construction and the First and Main Street project under construction, those two spaces were parking spaces that were available for the public at some level. And to me, until those are finished, I wouldn't want to reduce parking because, just as I mentioned, it seems like that space is being used by somebody, I don't know who.
And that's
So-
what I'm saying, right, rather than bringing them right now, it's a good discussion to have because I'm on the same page. I love their proposal.
Exactly.
I think it's such a cool idea, but it's very unfortunate that we just don't have anything in downtown which can support what they're trying to do.
And
At this point, I don't think we can look at it.
To be clear on the original action, it wasn't based on parking because they are looking at parking solutions where they can park off-site. It was
The neighbors.
specifically based on comments made by adjacent residents that wanted to make sure there wasn't noisy activities happening in the parking lot.
Right.
And my thinking about the construction is I'm coming to an opposite conclusion, because I feel like the businesses on that stretch are so hampered by the construction that is going on there for the next year that there's no natural foot traffic. And if they can create a green space that draws people there, then that's a real benefit to the businesses there. And they are in such a disadvantage because of what is happening on that entire stretch. I mean, if you've walked it, it's extremely difficult. You have to have a purpose to go there.
Right.
So if there's something that they can do that brings people there, I think that a temporary use of that space would be great.
But the Safeway parking, I think, can be done by April, guessing, by what it was, it says coming spring, so
So
I'll be
that's
comfortable
several
like
months.
looking at it again in a few months,
that's what I was.
but not like approving it right now without those two projects at some level being done.
Do you want to hear from the applicant and ask them why they withdrew?
I can take a guess at why they did, but yeah, we can ask,
Do you want to,
looking at the letters.
I have a hunch it's going to come up again, so let's, might as well get the history about it.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Brian Heffernan. This is my wife, Mary. We operate the arcade at 151. And ultimately, the decision is truly a timing one for all the reasons that you mentioned there. We pride ourselves on aligning ourselves with the community, doing things community-focused. I think we need to develop our plan a little more cleanly and work to ingratiate ourselves with the residents with regard to that plan, those that live near the property. And parking is a huge issue right now, and so really this is a timing issue. So we'll be back.
Okay, all
Cool.
right, that's what I kind of thought your answer was going to be.
And did you see the letters that were submitted?
I did. I just saw them just now.
Okay, because I think there's some valid concerns, and as long as you're addressing them, I think that would be what I'd be concerned about.
I'm happy to talk about any of the concerns in concept, but I think we have a pretty good idea of what the concerns are, and we're sensitive to that. And I think we've shown over the last year that we mean what we say. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been very happy with the whole operation.
good.
Yeah, me
And I stop in at Bumble a lot, so.
Thank you,
Great.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Great. Okay, well, any commissioner reports and comments?
I do.
Well, do we have public comment about the topic, or no?
We didn't get any green slips.
There's some
nothing-
other people in the audience, so I'm curious if they're here for,
I've never been to one of these. I'm not quite sure what I'm supposed to do.
can you show up?
What is it that you think you want to do?
When you want to speak, you should go up to the microphone, because otherwise people can't hear you. And after you do, fill out one of these green slips from the lobby so that we'll know who you were.
My
And
name
introduce
is Christine,
yourself.
and I live in the Villas. And our HOA, one of the members of the HOA wrote a letter, and the rest of the HOA asked that I be here to talk about
We have that
or
letter.
find out information about the 151 project. The gentleman here in the jacket mentioned that
James.
this was still on the agenda. So I'm just wondering, the next time it comes up, will the residents nearby get another notice so that we know to be here again?
Yep.
Yes.
That's all I need to know.
And we would encourage you and the HOA to talk with the owners prior to the meeting so that you guys are already
Exactly.
feeling good about everything.
We didn't have any specific objection to what we read
Okay.
was going to be discussed here today. We just wanted to make sure that everyone was open to potential complaints and discussion if there were any problems in the future, that's all.
Perfect.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Do you mind filling out one of these and get it in the hallway, please? Just bring it up here and thank you.
Just says who you were. And
Sir, there's another gentleman back there. Did you have anything that you wanted to? You good?
Okay.
Okay, I guess we can close that.
And go to commission meetings.
Okay.
So I think I went to the first one. I went to the Tuesday, October 8th City Council meeting, where there was nothing on the agenda that related to anything we were doing, but 3 of the council members agreed to put on the future agenda at some point, PTC being allowed to attend meetings remotely.
Oh, wow.
Oh, well, how do you like that?
How did that miracle happen?
Courtesy of Mike McTighe, who
Awesome.
spoke to people ex parte and explained our concerns,
Being in the,
and we
prior to
will...
the council meeting.
And so what we need to do is keep an eye on the agenda to see when the agenda goes through, and then we can make our presence and our issues heard in a way that hopefully will lead to a revision in the current policy.
and bring us in the
And
new
as-
modern world.
And as requested, I spoke in public comment and representing this commission to say this is what we'd like to have considered at
Awesome.
the future
Thank you.
agenda item.
Cool. And then you went to the next one, I think?
No,
No, and the one had, you shouldn't have traded with me, there was nothing. I emailed
I was not
James.
in town.
Didn't I email you, James, and said, James, I'm not seeing anything on the agenda here that remotely relates to planning commission. Tell me if I'm wrong. And he said, no, you're not. There's nothing on there.
awesome. So that was perfect.
We did have, it wasn't an action item, but it was a status report on our affordable housing program and where we are with our updated housing plan, and we shared that we are going to be awarding a contract to update our housing plan here shortly. It's coming up, I think, in December, and then we'll launch that project in early next year. And typically, whenever we update our housing plan, we do reevaluate our whole housing management program and income levels and all those things. So those will be coming before the Planning Commission.
When you're revising a housing plan, you're talking about how many below-market rentals, and, I mean, what do you,
It's across the board, below market rate, moderate market rate, and market rate and above. We get every cycle, we get updated regional housing needs allocation numbers from the state, and then it goes through the regional ABAG group, and so we have updated numbers, and we have to show how we're going to meet those numbers over the next cycle. And while we do that, we reevaluate the program, and it adjusts over time. The last cycle, we focused on or emphasized moderate housing, which wasn't a focus before. It was all below market rate. In terms of a requirement, obviously, we're meeting our market rate housing requirements pretty easily. So we modified the program to say that owner units should be moderate, and that was meant to target a certain, demographic and income level. And then the rental units or apartments would be the low-income and very low-income units, because they can be anything that's proposed, but in terms of a mandatory requirement, that was a target to try to get people that maybe are school teachers into the moderate owner units, and people that maybe work downtown into the other units. So.
And then are we still on commission reports? Because I went to the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Commission, is that right? And spoke, as I said I would from the last meeting, about the looking at the, or made a public comment to say that we would like to see them look at the capital improvement program for any street modifications, so that it's looked at ahead of time about looking at better bike pedestrian features rather than after the fact or when it's in process, so that it could go in front of council to ask for more funds. And I don't know what happened with that. I don't know if you guys know. But I just made the comment that I'd like to see that as part of their agenda item. And if they don't do it, then we should. One of the committees should take care of that.
And that is our expectation. When we update the capital improvement program, we take it to all the commissions, BPAC, PTC.
Yeah.
And this last cycle, we did it in a two-meeting cycle. We made a presentation at the first meeting, and then came back about 4 weeks later, so that all the commissions had time to give it some thought and then make a recommendation at the second meeting.
Yeah, and I'm interested in the street slurry. Is that what you would call it?
It's part of our pavement management program.
They would say these are the streets that are going to be addressed this fiscal year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, do we have any potential future agenda items?
I'd like to talk at a future agenda item is the First and Main Street intersection, because I noticed besides the curb is that left turn, a lot of cars are backing up, and they're actually restricting access to drive forward from Foothill down Main Street. It seems like there's more issues than just the curb.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what we can do, or whether...
We can certainly agendize that. I think the curb radius is a more simple item. The permanent, we're dealing with a lot of traffic movement problems now because of the construction trucks,
Right,
obviously.
exactly.
And, it may be a very different traffic circulation condition when the construction trucks are out there. Safeway they're required to use a certain route that doesn't use Main Street.
Right, I'm just noticing normal cars coming down off of Foothill. Everyone's kind of backing up, and because that left turn is not very wide and that light only hits left once,
Mm-hmm.
it might be that you'd have a green light, much like San Antonio, where it's left turn and straight, so that cars can get out of that intersection and then have left, have it come the other way. I don't know. It just seems like there's a lot of riding. Well, especially I ride my bike through there, and it's a little bit of a hazard.
Do you think this is an item that if we get enough commission support, we can ask staff to talk to our traffic engineering department to see if they have proposals? Because I'm loath to make suggestions as to what the solution could be, but I am quite clear that there's a problem. And I don't think that fixing the curb radius is the solution. It might be a part of one, but I think the problem is a pretty sophisticated one, particularly with the interim position we're in now, where we're getting really bizarre traffic patterns.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, there is a problem, and if traffic engineering could look at it and say, we probably need to do this, this, and this, but this will resolve itself when we don't have construction traffic, I would prefer to have their expertise rather than instruct them.
No, I think we
do
need
it.
to, if the discussion is going to be productive. Personally, I think the circulation should probably wait until construction's finished, just so we see what the pattern, the real patterns look like, but we can certainly have that discussion now.
So what would that entail?
we need three of us to agree to do it, so we can ask staff to look into it.
I'm okay with it. I would like to
I'm
support
for it.
And I'm for it, so we have three. So,
I think
staff,
more than
please
three.
take a look at that.
We will.
Thanks.
Okay. Any other future agenda items?
Well, the other question was, there was a letter that James sent about the post office mailboxes on First Street across
Yes.
from the condominium.
Oh, yes.
And I didn't see it in our packet, but I know I did receive that.
We all got it.
Right. So do we need to talk about that? And then my question was that I didn't see a response was, I know BPAC had made a recommendation, and I'm not sure why we're getting involved, other than the letter
Right.
was addressed to the commission. And
Is that a planning commission or a city council?
We received a letter that was addressed to the Planning and Transportation Commission, so we forwarded it to the commission members, and that's what you received.
Right.
And I apologize for not following up on that, but I did look into it
Yeah, I know you and I
after
talked
that, and it did go, City Council asked the BPAC to look into the matter. My understanding is the BPAC preferred to keep the mailboxes where they were because they're popular at that location.
Right.
So that is a recommendation that our engineering staff is going to be taking to City Council, but understanding that that doesn't, alter the pedestrian interface there, the problems with walking along that driveway. Our engineering staff, I think, will have some alternative recommendations for City Council, too.
Yeah, because it's just it's a drive-through, and there's no pedestrian access, really, other than walk right
Yeah,
where the
I'm-
cars walk, and it's not,
Yeah.
not a sound.
No, I'm very familiar with it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you are.
Unless you can widen the driveway to get a sidewalk offset, then...
Has anybody done traffic counts to see what a number of cars going through there?
We may, but I mean, I think just anecdotally, if you walk on that driveway, it's a very
Yeah, I'm just curious
inappropriate-
how many people are really using that.
Well, when the post office was open,
It was used
it
a lot.
was used heavily.
Constantly.
And I can't speak to the construction now, but I'm sure it's much reduced. But there was a time where it was getting, I mean, the bins would be full before they could come out and empty
Right.
them.
It's used regularly. I know that
Yeah,
just
it
from
is.
walking downtown.
Even now, because
use
it's
it.
so convenient for a
And
long.
I know during the holidays, it gets very, very heavy use, so,
Yeah, last couple of times I've been by there just hasn't been any cars, so I was just kind of curious.
yeah.
But it
Okay,
could be
so that's
just-
being looked at.
Yeah, we have several alternative locations, and none of them are as popular as this location, but they all separate the cars from the pedestrians, and so that's going to be presented to the City Council.
For us, it's just as an FYI for now.
Okay, any other future items you want to talk about? Well,
7:28.
that-
28 minutes, all right, guys,
Unbelievable.
it's a
My wife
record.
is going to be shocked.